Okay. Before we dive in, I want to share a quick disclosure. My husband, Christian Kropff, is Supervisor Alan Wong's campaign manager. So I want to put that out there right up front. Every candidate in this series was made aware of that connection before we hit record. That said, my questions are the same ones I've asked every candidate, and this series has always been about one thing: giving voters a chance to hear directly from the people running, in their own words, so you can make up your own mind. Welcome back to the Sunset Connection. This episode continues the District 4 candidate interview series, where I'm speaking with everyone running for supervisor and asking the same questions in the same order each time. It's still early in the District 4 race, and early is when it's often easiest to hear how candidates think before ideas get condensed into slogans and sound bites. And with that, let's get into it. I'm very excited to welcome back the current appointed supervisor for District 4, Alan Wong. Alan Wong is a lifelong Sunset District resident and the current appointed supervisor for District 4. He was appointed by Mayor Daniel Lurie in 2025, making him the only candidate in this race who is already serving in the role. Before becoming supervisor, he served as an elected city college board president and a National Guard officer, a union organizer, and a policy director at the Children's Council of San Francisco.
Hello, Jessica. You're so impartial of all the candidates on your podcast that you don't even let my campaign manager husband in here, like all the other candidates.
Yeah, exactly. So we talked about your personal connection to District 4 in a previous podcast episode. So I think we don't need to beleaguer that point. But I would be very curious to learn more about what specifically made you decide that this was the moment to run for supervisor.
For me, being appointed supervisor was sort of a surprise. I actually wasn't thinking about applying for the position. There were a lot of people that had brought up to me, told me, "Oh, Alan, you should consider it," especially after one of the previous supervisors proposed Proposition K, and people were not so happy. A lot of people were actually bringing that up to me and beginning in 2024, but I was actually like, "Oh, I don't think I'm gonna be doing anything like that anytime soon. I got military duty. I've got all these other things happening in my life." So I wasn't actually thinking about it. But then I was actually out on military duty from July through September, while the supervisor was going through that recall process. And so I was far, far away, and people were still calling and bugging me. And I was just moving through my life. And then later on, I came back and I saw a list of rumored people that were being considered. And I just thought, oh, wow, I'm better qualified and well-rounded than almost all these candidates. I should just put my name in there. So I did, and ultimately I was selected. I didn't really know Mayor Lurie that well before, so I didn't really have my hopes set that high. But I felt that I was very well qualified and just put my name in there. And through that process, I was appointed to be a supervisor for District 4, and it's the greatest honor in my life to be able to serve as supervisor for the neighborhood I was born and raised in. And now that I've been appointed, the funny thing is I signed up for a job where you need to immediately run for election. So in June, I have to run to finish the remainder of Ingardio's term. And I also need to run in November to have a brand new 4-year term as well. So I signed up for this crazy job, but I think out of the entire field, I'm the most prepared for it and the most well-rounded to be able to lead an office while also running an election at the same time.
That's a great segue into my next question. How do you think your previous experiences have prepared you to serve as District 4 supervisor?
I think everything that I've done in my life led me to this moment. When I was in high school, I interned in then Supervisor Fiona Ma's office. And she actually likes to tell me that I'm her only intern that ever got elected to public office. And yeah, I went from District 4 intern to District 4 supervisor. I also obviously had worked in the District 4 office previously, in Supervisor Mar's office. And before that, I was a union organizer, which trained me to be able to be an advocate for issues and be able to be a strong leader and community organizer. Serving in the military for 16 years and going has taught me to be a stronger leader. I think in the past I was a little bit more shy, a little bit more quiet. I still am, but at the same time, I've learned to be able to also go out of my shell at the right moments to take on leadership roles and also think about things in a more operational way, because a lot of times people are very philosophical in politics. And I think when you're in the military, you learn how to be operational and pragmatic. You need to do what works, not what the book says, because people's lives are at stake. And serving as City College board president as a elected official, twice elected, I've been able to run for elections and handled the politics of being able to manage a community college district and being able to listen to issues from stakeholders. And then as policy director at Children's Council, worked in the nonprofit field, helping support families to get access to childcare. So I do think that my lived experience as a born and raised Sunset kid, as somebody that's been a policy director at a children's nonprofit, union organizer, veteran, District 4 legislative aide, and so many more in my history has really all that put together has led me to this one moment to be District 4 supervisor.
By December 1st of this year, what would you have liked to accomplish if you were to continue your term as supervisor?
I want to show strong leadership on public safety issues. In our city, we have brazen drug crime and also retail theft. And people in our neighborhoods don't feel safe. And it also hurts our economy and prevents businesses from flourishing in our city, which impacts our entire city. The other thing is there's issues of traffic safety. Traffic safety is not being enforced in many areas. And I'm constantly hearing concerns from neighbors about increasing safety on our streets because people are speeding, not stopping at stop signs, going too fast in our neighborhood. Other thing about public safety is also disaster preparedness. We are in a tsunami zone. We are potentially going to have a next earthquake. Also, PG&E has failed us, and we need to prevent any sort of future disasters from happening. As a National Guard officer, I've sent to the campfire where the entire city burnt down, and I never want to see something like that. So we need to be prepared for all those potential disasters. And so I put all of those things under the umbrella of public safety. For cutting red tape, I'd like to see us propose less rules and regulations for small businesses and everyday people. And I want to get rid of dumb laws that are on the books so people can live simpler lives, and small businesses as well, so that they can flourish and move forward with what they do best. For our schools, I'm going to be a cheerleader for our local public schools. I'm going to be showing up to the community events. And I think what success means is people having confidence and faith in our schools by having good quality programs. And I'm going to be supporting them from the Board of Supervisors and encouraging people to be going to our local public schools.
Great. When community voices conflict, which they often do, how do you decide who do you prioritize?
I need to listen to everybody. I think that a lot of times in our government and civic life, people are so polarized and folks are so righteous about their own opinions. I'm never quite righteous about things. I think that there are people with different values and different perspectives. And it's not necessarily I'm right and you're wrong, but what people prioritize and support based on their lived experiences. And there's so many stakeholder groups and interest groups across the city that will be advocating for different points of view. And ultimately, it's up to me as an elected official to be able to put together my lived experiences and also my constituent feedback, and also listening to all the different perspectives to come up with a decision on votes that I have to take. And I do my best to listen to everybody with an open mind and be able to have nuance in policymaking.
The sunset is changing demographically, economically, and politically. What changes do you welcome, and which ones concern you?
I've noticed some changes in the Sunset. Uh, so growing up in the Sunset, I ate in Cantonese restaurants, and I had my dim sum and other stuff, chow mein. And I noticed that there are all these new restaurants popping up with Xiaolongbao, hot pot, Szechuan food. And when I went to those restaurants, I was like, oh, I've never tried this in my life. I thought I was Chinese, but apparently not Chinese enough. So I think that there's been a change in the demographics of the Chinese community in the Sunset as well. And China is a big country, so there's like different parts of Chinese culture that are coming into the neighborhood too. And it's for me, it's I get to experience all the food, so I've been enjoying that. And I think that as a city, there's constantly changes in our community, right? There are different shifts in immigration. There are different shifts in the community and the country as well, and we are subject to that. I think one thing that concerns me is affordability in our community. The average price of a home in San Francisco is $1.7 million, and I should have said actually Sunset. So I think that that's a big concern, and I want to be able to support affordability in our city, supports more opportunities for people to live in the city. And the cost of living is so high in San Francisco, and it's hard for young families to
Absolutely.
move to a home and start a family. The cost of having childcare is more than the cost of a college education. So there are all these prohibiting factors for people to stay in the city and live in the city, and the Sunset specifically.
Great. Well, what would you want residents to say about your leadership when this term ends, even if they didn't vote for you?
I think what I would like people to say about me is somebody that took the opportunity to listen to different perspectives, somebody that is and from the Sunset, somebody that cares deeply and strives my best to be an independent thinker.
Great. All right, so now we're going to go on to the scenario, which is something that I've asked every candidate the same scenario so listeners can better understand how they approach problem solving. What if a small business owner came to you for help with a parking issue, but SFMTA was unwilling to make the requested changes? How would you advise the business owner?
I would have to understand the issue more clearly because it's a little bit general, but if a business owner came to me about parking, I'd review the situation myself and get an understanding of the pros and the cons based on my own experience and the experience of the person that brought it up. And then I would consult with SFMTA on the history of the changes, and also get feedback from some of the different stakeholder groups, whether it be neighbors and different groups that are in the neighborhood as well, whether it be community groups, transit-oriented groups, and others that care about the parking issue. And ultimately, as supervisor, I would have to decide whether or not to advocate on behalf of the person that brought it up based on all of these different factors.
So, what would success look like in your view 6 months down the road if we were still in this hypothetical situation? Like
This scenario that you brought
the
up,
scenario. Let's say that now it's 6 months later. What would success look like?
it's hard to, since it's a hypothetical scenario without a specific example of what the parking situation is. It's hard to tell, but I think if I believe that the business owner had a case, then the ideal situation would be for MTA to change it and for my advocacy to be successful. If in the case that I think that MTA did the right thing with the change, then I would work to cooperate with the business owner to see what other alternatives. And I think I approach these transit issues in our city from a very pragmatic perspective. It seems like there's a lot of people that have very strong opinions about things like speed bumps, bicycle lanes, all these things relating to transit in our neighborhood. It really provokes strong feelings. And I approach it from a very pragmatic perspective. If there's a place in need of any of these things, I'll support it. If there's a place that doesn't necessarily need these things and adding it might be more of a burden, then I won't support it. So I would like to approach these things from a very pragmatic perspective rather than just being one-sided one way or another.
Great. Just let's say that SFMTA did not resolve this business owner's concerns. What would you do instead? What would you do next?
If I believed in the business owner,
If you believed in this hypothetical case that the business owner had a reason to ask the SFMTA to change something,
and they still didn't change it,
the SFMTA did not want to change it.
if I supported the business owner's case, then I may take a tack from some of my union organizing background and help support the neighborhood in organizing to conduct advocacy.
Great. Thanks. That's a very clear answer. All right. So before we close, you get 2 minutes to talk about anything you want to. And that's what I'm giving every candidate. So I will time you.
Thanks for the 2 minutes. Being appointed to this role to serve as the Sunset District Supervisor is the greatest honor in my life. I'm so grateful to know that people have faith in me to serve in this role. And I want to be able to continue to be a strong advocate for the Sunset neighborhood as I have through my entire life. I think that my experiences as a policy director at the Children's Council, as a veteran, as a union organizer, as a past District 4 legislative aide, as a past elected official at City College, all these experiences put together provide me the strengths and the skills to be a strong leader for the neighborhood. We've had so many supervisors change in the last few years. I want to provide stability for the neighborhood, and I believe that my temperament and also my political acumen and policy knowledge gives me the right experience to lead and also avoid extremes as well. I think that in my race, there's somebody to my left, there's somebody to my right, and I think I'm right in the middle and just right for the district in the Goldilocks zone. And I would like to be able to work with everybody in the Sunset to bring people together and listen to everybody. I want to be able to continue to serve, and it's the greatest honor of my life, and I'm happy to be here.
And that's time. All right. Thank you so much. And just like that, now we have heard from every candidate running for a District 4 supervisor. Over the course of this series, I sat down with Albert Chow, Natalie G, David Lee, Jeremy Julian Greco, and now Alan Wong. I asked each of them the same questions in the same order so that you, the listener, could hear how they think and compare their answers for yourself. I started this series because I believe the best time to get to know your candidates is early, before the mailers and sound bites take over. I hope the conversations gave you something useful as you make your decision for the election that is coming in June. If you want to go back and listen to any of the other interviews, you can find them all on the Sunset Connection wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening, and thank you to every candidate who sat down with me. Until then, take care of each other and yourselves, because if you won't, who will? And I'll see you in the neighborhood.